Stay on the cone.
Appreciate y'all not going to Miami a day early.
So, obviously, Michael Mayer's been back in the building. Is he going to be ready to play on Sunday?
Yeah, hopefully today's a good day and we'll go from there, but trending up.
Going forward, do you see a bigger role for him now with Devontae not being here in terms of his pass catching ability and having him more involved in the offense?
You know about Big Mike? Yeah, obviously he's always been a part of the plan first and foremost. But obviously with losing people through injuries or trades, I think there's obviously an opportunity there for him. But really, I think just getting him back to par with our team, obviously new offensive coordinator there with Scott Turner, just getting back in the fold. You want to be smart with it. Want to be smart. But obviously Mike is a big part of our plans this year, this week, and the future. So the more we can get him involved, the better.
Could you update on Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, and Nate Hobbs?
Okay, Colton Miller will practice today. Dylan practice today. Nate Hobbs will not.
Thank you.
Is there a chance that Nate plays on Sunday, or is
Doubtful.
Darnay Holmes saw his highest snap count of the season against Cincinnati. How have you seen him progress since arriving here in late August?
Told you, man. There's some spooky stuff going on over here, man. Just saying. No, listen. No, Darnay, obviously familiar with the scheme. I'm familiar with him from way back in the day. He's done a good job just getting acclimated with special teams, and obviously defense had a bigger role last week. And if Nate is not able to go, that role will pick up.
Hey, Pete, speaking of the defensive backs, I'm curious, obviously Jacorian's had a great season. Where have you seen the most growth from him from last season to this season?
It's weird, it's not really stats, it's mentally. I think the ability to get over good or bad plays, to move on, have that short-term memory as a defensive back, because there's going to be moments where they catch the balls and be moments that he's really been really good for us on third down especially. But I think just that, as a younger player, going through ups and downs he did in his rookie season, then obviously in year two having a really solid year in coverage. I know there's things that we want to work on and he wants to work on to get better, but for year two, there's been a tremendous stride of improvements.
Patrick Graham said to slow down the offense, you got to be able to stop that run of Miami. How much emphasis will there be on slowing down their run game?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, that's been kind of our weak link this year. So any team that we face, for some odd reason, it seems to show up. So that's first and foremost, stop the run, allow our defensive ends, the Max Crosbys, the KCs of the world, to really get after Tua and company. But it's critical because you don't want to be, with this offense to have that RPO action. It's the same kind of scheme and concepts that you see over and over. And if the backers are sitting there biting up constantly in the run game, that opens up more windows and puts more pressure on our secondary. So critical that we do a good job of setting the front, having some knockback, really with the perimeter with so much speed with the Dolphins that we eliminate that early in the game.
When you were a player, Antonio, what offense kind of reminds you of what you're about to face? Is there anybody out there?
The Rams on the turf, that was real. When they were rolling with Kurt Warner and Holt and Bruce and Marshall Faulk. Even later on down the road, it didn't even matter if it was on grass. They were fast. It was on you right now. The speed is legit. You can't mimic it. We're doing the best we can in practice. But the good part about it, like I said, we went against these guys last year and really felt the speed of Hill and Waddle and those guys over there. So we understand that and we respect it. But at the end of the day, with speed, you got to put hands on them, right? Physicality needs to show up.
Devontae Chen is a guy that left last year's game early.
Who's that? I'm sorry?
Devontae Chen.
Okay.
He's got a pretty unique skill set as well as the ways they use him in the pass game and the run game. What catches your attention when you watch him on tape?
Just dynamic. Everything's explosive. Everything's a big game. Everything's an explosive game in the run game, the pass game, route running. I think, obviously you look at the size, you think a smaller guy, but he runs like a big boy. He runs behind his pads, does a good job. He gets on you fast, and the arm tackles is not going to work with a player like this. You have to chest him up. You have to kind of just put the body blows on him to slow him down throughout the game.
Back end of that, with just how effective they are at running the ball and also that RPO action you were talking about, how vital is it for the linebacking core, Spillane, Eichenberg, Diablo to really come out and do their job?
Yeah, eye discipline. That was the word of the week. Eye discipline up front. Eye discipline in the back end. A lot of eye candy, right? We talked about this earlier in the week. Shifts, motions, a lot of things that get your eyes off of your key, right? If I'm on 2 and 3, just read your key, stay with them. And that'll put us in a better position. And we've had a really good week of doing that. Obviously, there's been schemes that we've faced earlier in the year that's similar, but obviously the skill set and the speed is real.
How would you describe, Antonio, what Spillane has been able to do at that Mike position? And I guess that's real familiar to you anyway, but you take more of a, not more of a pride, but a certain kind of pride in the way that he's been able to play as a leader on that defense?
I do, because I think so much attention goes to Max Crosby, and well-deserving. But the body of work that Spill has done really from day one, being the extension of Patrick Graham on the field, making the calls, making the checks, and then, to be honest, when it comes down to production, he's up there to me with some of the best linebackers in the league. And the one thing that he got knocked on, and I think that's really shown up since he's been here as a Raider, is his pass coverage. His ability to make plays, be in the passing lane, be effective in that role, get his hands on some balls. But he's a bell cow. He's a guy that I would love to see here, for the long term. But especially this year, he's done a really good job for our organization, our defense.
A couple more injury questions on like Andre James. I know you said JPJ was going to be at center. Is he out for this week?
He's doubtful. Yes.
Cody Whitehair as well.
Doubtful.
And then I know you guys were down to 5 guys last game. So where do you stand on kind of the depth on the offensive line?
Yeah, that's the reason why we had so many guys on the practice squad. So if those two gentlemen obviously are not able to go, then we got to go to our resources on the practice squad. But the good thing about it, we're getting close with them. We'll see today, but it doesn't look good for those two gentlemen, Cody and Andre. And then at the end of the day, it's kind of been like our whole season. Next man up, right? Next man up. But hopefully, what we've seen with DJ Glaze and Munford and Colton Miller, I think Jordan Meredith, we haven't talked enough about him, but Jordan's done a hell of a job filling in. And the way he's been playing, he's earned the right to be a starter going forward. And so you feel comfortable with the guys you got there. You just hate that we keep changing all these pieces amongst the offensive line because at some point you like just to have 5 guys there. Continuity, chemistry, that's really that's the glue to our team, right, when you can have that. So something we're working on consistently.
Scott Turner mentioned communication he felt was probably the biggest issue with the O-line and the lack of the run game. How important is that communication, especially when you are mixing and matching all these offensive linemen?
It's critical because somebody's speaking and then somebody has to receive. And a lot of that's come up. And you've seen it on film. It's been noted. But I think Joe Philbin has done a really good job of really dialing it back, going back to square one. You hate to say it, but when you have a bye week, you do have that reset. So you go back to what happened in training camp, even back into OTAs, and really dial it back with the offensive line. Maybe you don't need as many checks. Maybe you don't need many calls, right? And then you have to do certain things also to get somebody's attention, right? If I make a call and I say, hey, push or whatever, I need to maybe say your name, for example, right? So different ways of us how to communicate and be more effective. But more importantly, you have to listen. You have to open up your ears. You can't get so locked in. I got this guy. The NFL is all about movement. And the way the D-line play is now in the league, to expect that guy to stand in front of you every play, shame on us. So I think we've done a good job this week of trying to adjust to that and fix those problems, and we'll see on Sunday.
Miami's defense is top 10 in the league against the run in terms of total rushing yards this season. How important is it for you guys to stick with the run, even if it doesn't look as well as you want it to
Yeah,
look?
I think that's going to be key. And how we set up the run, right? Do we start our game off running? Do we start off passing? And we've had a lot of discussions about that, of how we've operated and attacked the game plan. And this game's going to be critical. We got to have balance. We don't want to be in a game where we're throwing the ball 40, 50 times. Hasn't worked out for us this year. It's not going to work out in the future. So we want to have that balance. We got to get those 2 running backs going, Alex Madison and Zamir White, and that's going to be critical for us to get us going. But it's going to start back to the question prior, the offensive line. Hat on the hat, and then we cannot get, have these tackles where we're getting arm tackle. We got to run through contact and be the physical team.
What have you seen from watching film with Tua the last few weeks?
Good. Sharp, getting the ball out, protecting himself, smart. You can see he's a fighter, man. Ultimate respect for what he's been able to come and overcome this season. You can tell he's a leader. You can tell he wants to be there for his team, and his team responds really well when he's obviously in the game. But the quick delivery, the understanding of the offense, it's pretty, when it's flowing like it was last week on Monday Night Football, it's scary to watch.
In a small sample size, Antonio, but what have you seen in that relationship between Scott and Norv? And as Scott said yesterday, hey, he's my dad. We like each other. We like hanging out.
They know each other. And I think more importantly, Scott listens to Norv, and that's going to be good for the Raiders.
AP, can you update us just in a very general sense? How is Jack Jones doing mentally, physically? You obviously have a long history with him. How's he been?
Last week was good. We needed that game. He needed that game. Our team needed that game for him. Confidence is up. Obviously, Jack doesn't lack ability or awareness or playmaking ability. It's just, when you're a player of his caliber and you're used to making plays and you don't get those plays, you tend to get down on yourself. Like, there's not opportunities. But there has been opportunities. And last week he made the most of them and gave us a chance, or 2 weeks ago, to have a chance, to maybe have a comeback. But he's been in really good spirits this week. It's really good to see him smiling again and just be happy. And that always comes with making plays. Making plays are winning, right? 1 or 2 got to happen, especially for a corner and a guy like Jack. So the more ways we can find to get him the ball in his hands and to make plays and scheme it up for him, the better it will be for us.
You mentioned earlier this week about, what do we have to lose? Has that kind of been a mentality that you gave to the team as well? Like, go out there and play loose and don't think, just go play?
It's really been since day one. But I think just for the circumstances, at 2-7, odds against us, everybody having their comments from the outside. And I told them the biggest thing that I'm looking for with our team is just us sticking together and going through the process. Now, the process hasn't been and the results haven't been what we wanted. But the body of work from Monday to Saturday, we're putting ourselves in position to win games. We're just not doing it on Sunday. And at some point, that's going to change. And our goal is to make a change this Sunday. And I respect the players that's here every day working their asses off. Max, hell, Christian's on IR. He's here every day. All these other players that's in the building, not missing a beat, smile on their face, enjoying work. Hell, we'll be indoors today. Just watch the practice. I think you have a good feel what's going to happen Sunday.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.